Hey, how's everyone doing? In this video, I'm going to try to teach you as much Python as possible to get your feet wet and jump right in as fast as possible. Now, I learned programming, well, I'm self-taught, I studied electrical engineering in college, and many times I thought it would be really difficult, but I think that Python is a great language to start. So the computer only understands zeros and ones, and a programming language like Python basically converts syntax or words that we can read and understand into those zeros and ones so the computer can do a bunch of calculations and different stuff for us. So let's start off. Well, the first thing we're going to learn is about variables. Now, variables allow us to store values in a variable. So for example, I could say that a is equal to 1. That means that I stored the number 1 in a. B is equal to I. So now I've stored a character in a variable. I can store a decimal number, or a float, like 2.3 in the variable C, and then I can store a string, which is basically a series of characters in another variable like hello world. Now, the beauty of variables is that I can add them or do a bunch of things with them. So I can A, B, C, D, E is equal to A plus C. And we can print E here to see what the resulting is. So the result is 3.3 because 1 plus 2.3 is E. Now 1 plus 2.3 makes sense, but adding A and B will not work because, well, A is an integer and B is a character. But we can add two characters together. So for example, we can add B plus D to give us I, hello world, and that makes sense because I is a character and or a string, and D is also a string or a series of characters. All right, great. So now we were able to add a bunch of characters. Now I can create a comment and I can say, adding two variables. And so the way I add a comment is by using a hashtag. I can also create a long comment by creating 3 quotes. I say, hello world, this is a multi-line comment. And there we go, we have a multi-line comment. Now, the other things that I can do is I can store a list. So let's say right now D stores hello world, but I want to store multiple things. So I'll say f is equal to a list, which includes hello world, and it also includes another one. Let's see, good night. So now this is a list. The beauty of lists is that I can add things to it or remove things from it. So if I say print f, I get shown the list. If I want to read an index in the list, I can basically call it by its index, so 0. So the most programming languages, there's an index in that list. So this is the 0 index, and this is the 1 index. Some languages start off with an index of 1, but Python starts off with an index of 0. So now if I run this, I get hello world, because that's at the index 0. I can add to lists, so I can say that f is equal to f plus, and then add to the list 1, 2, 3. And now if I print f, what I get is good night, hello world, good night, and then 1, 2, 3. And another way, a simple way to write f plus something is, since I'm adding f to itself, I can do this plus equals, and that is equivalent to f plus f itself plus something else. Now Python obviously has certain operations like logic. We did here e equals a plus c, but you could also do e equals a minus c. You could do e equals a times c, and you can do e equals a divided by c, and we'll just print e after every one. Oops. For us to see what we get. So a minus c, 1 minus 2.3 gives us this number. A times c is 1 times 2.3, which gives us 2.3. And then a divided by c is equal to 1 over 2.3. So we just saw how we could do a bunch of operations. Now, this was simple logic, but we can also do some conditional logic. And conditional logic, I basically say if something is, so if a is equal to 1, then print hello. And of course, we do know that a is equal to 1, and therefore it does print hello. You could also say not equal to. So if a doesn't equal 1, well, it does equal 1, so it doesn't execute basically this function. And I could also say if a is greater than 1, or doesn't do anything, or if a is less than 1, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to 1, then we can do all this stuff. Print hello, for example. Now, this will obviously run because a is in fact greater than or equal to 1. I can also create an else statement here. So else if print goodbye. And now we'll say if a does not equal 1, print hello. And now it does equal 1, so therefore it prints goodbye. We could also create an else if statement, which means hey, it prints hey. So if, else if, and else. Now, we've just seen a list and logical operators, and we also see we can store things. Now, another way to store things is in a dictionary. So you can create a dictionary called my dictionary, for example, and it uses these curly braces, and I can say name is John. So now I can reference an item in my dictionary by calling by its key, and the key here is name, and we get John. I'm going to comment out this because I don't want to show it anymore, and there we go. So name is John. You can also create a set. A set is basically a list, but that does not have any repeating characters. So for example, I can say my set is equal to 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, or 5, 5. And when I print my set, anything that is repeating will be removed from the set. Now this is really nice if I want to get a unique set and make sure that every value in the set is unique. All right, cool. Now another thing that we can do is we can, other than creating a dictionary and creating a set, is we can create for loops or loops. So a loop is great because we can go over a certain amount of code multiple times, and that's really useful if I want to do something that can change as we grow. So for example, let's say I create a variable equals x, and I can create a loop where I say for I in range 0 to 5, I want you to increment the value of x. So I increment the value of x by 1. Now realize that this is equivalent to saying x equals x plus 1, right? And after the for loop, I want to print the value of x. So we're going to do that now. Let me find, hey, it printed the value of 6 because we kept incrementing. We can actually print inside of this for loop the value of x so we can see how it grows. So we'll see here, it incremented, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That basically looped through this for loop. Another way to loop through something is by looping through a list. So if I say J, or if I say text in the list F, and I want you to print the text. So we're going to loop through this list, and we say, oh wow, it says hello, good night, and also adds 1, 2, and 3. So we've basically went through a for loop of this list. So we've basically iterated through every item in this list. Another way to create a loop is something called a while loop. Now a while loop means that as long as something meets a condition, I want you to keep doing it. So for example, while x equals 1, so actually, while x is 1 basically, I want you to say hello. But that's going to happen forever because x is in fact 1 and it's never going to change unless we change it. So we can make another statement that says as long as x is less than 5, print hello, and in here we're going to increment x by 1. And you'll see here it says hello, 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 and it's going to keep doing that until x reaches 5, in which case it's going to stop. So that's a while loop. Now, sometimes I want to access something in a list that might not be available. So for example, f, if we comment out this line, and we print out f, we find that f is hello world and good night. Now if I wanted to access something, so we start with 0, 1, 2, it says, oh, it's out of range, there's an index error. So there's something that we can do called a try. So what we can do is try printing this except index error, in which case we can print index out of range. So basically I've accessed something that doesn't exist. So we tried to do this code and there was an error, and the error was index out of error, and so we printed out the statement index out of range. So that's an example of using try. Okay. Another beauty is Booleans, and Booleans is basically a value that's either true or false. So x can equal to true, and x can also equal false. And if x, then we can do if x, then print hello. And you'll see here it prints hello because if true. Or you could say equals true, it's another way to say print hello. Else, print false. And we'll see here that it prints hello because x is in fact true. If we change the value here to false, and we try to print it, it's going to print false because x is false. Now, we can do a bunch of things where we could say if true or false, it will print hello. So it will print true. And we can do another conditional statement, if true and false, print false. And when we run this, we find if true or false, it prints true. If true and false, it does not print false, right? Because it is false. So true and false is false, right? So we can say else print hey. And we find here it says true or false. That means it's true. But if it's true and false, the false is greater, right? And therefore we print hey. Okay. So this is, we tried the try and except conditional logic with true or false, or true and false. And now we're going to implement the function. So let's say I want to implement the function, which I call it frequently. I can say define a function that says say hello. The way I define function is by saying define the name of the function, and I say print hello world. And now I can call this function anytime by saying hello like this, and I can call it twice if I wanted to. I can call it as many times as I wanted to, and it'll do the same thing every time. I can pass a variable that says, it's called greeting, and greeting, and the greeting will be done morning. And if we run it, we'll see how it takes the input, whatever variable is passed into the function, and run with it and be able to manipulate it, change it, use it for its own special sauce. Okay, So we just seen a function, and now we can create a class. So now we can define a class, and the job of a class is it's an object that can have a certain set of properties that are always there. Every class needs a function called init, and the self itself is passed to it, and we can add a function that says I'm here. All right, and now we can say a variable called John is a person, and now when we run this, it says I'm here. So now that we know that John is a person, we can create another class, for example, that says it's called man, and it can have the person passed to it as a function, and it needs an init, obviously self, and we can call this function, and we can also print something like I'm a man. Nothing is called, but now we can say that John is a man. We run that, and it says he's a man. We can call this function, and it says I'm here, and I'm a man. And so now man will have all the properties of person, but not vice versa. So we use the function super to call functions from the parent object or class. We can also import things in Python. So importing, you can sometimes import packages or arrays or certain libraries. So now I'm going to import, for example, the math function or library, and we can say print math.py, and we have access to the number or pi. And then we can use this for all sorts of variables. So for example, we can say that the circumference is equal to 2 pi r, and r is equal to 12. Oops. And now we can print the circumference. So I don't want to type all that. Just print it. And now it tells us the circumference. And obviously you can make this a function, for example, like define get circumference, which is past the radius. And then, for example, it returns the circumference. So for example, we get this. Radius. And now I can do some cool stuff where I can say circle 1 circumference is equal to, has a radius 12, and I want to get the circumference of circle 1. And so I'll just call it, and boom, I got the values. So that's an intro to Python. You can see that it's so powerful. We can do so many things, and I hope you benefited as much as I have from this.